The Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces are the Armed Forces of Sierra Leone responsible for the territorial security of Sierra Leone's border and defending the national interests of Sierra Leone within the framework of the 1991 Constitution and international laws. The armed forces were formed after independence in 1961 on the basis of elements of the former British Royal West African Frontier Force, then present in the Sierra Leone Colony and Protectorate. The Sierra Leone Armed Forces is headed by the current Chief of Defence Staff, Lieutenant General Julius, who is the most senior military officer in the Sierra Leone Army, seconded by the Commander Joint Force, Major General Peter K. Lavahun, including all one-star generals that form the chain of Army Command, with His Excellency President Dr. Julius Maada as Commander-in-Chief of the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces. President Ahmed Tijan Kaba announced in January 2002, when the war ended, that the Sierra Leone Army will be unified with a tiny Sierra Leone Air Force and the Sierra Leone Navy, including the infantry, to form a reconstituted force known as the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces, headed by the Commander Joint Force, Major General Peter K. Lavahun, with plans already in place for the creation of a tri-service. At the 8th Ministerial Conference of the Forum on China-African Cooperation, FOCAC, President Xi Jinping made important proposal on building a China-African community with a shared future in the new era, and announced a series of major initiatives demonstrating China's sincere willingness to further strengthen solidarity and cooperation with African countries. His Excellency President Julius Maada intimated that China is willing to work with Sierra Leone to implement the initiative of the forum, align the outcomes of the conference with Sierra Leone's demand for development, and further boost cooperation in such fields as COVID-19 response, agriculture, fisheries, education, and infrastructure, and building a cohesive armed forces, as well as helping Sierra Leone fight against the pandemic and recover its economy.
China is a great friend of Sierra Leone, as you've rightly said. 50 years of continuous relationship. We have benefited quite a lot from that, and they will say that in terms of benefit, it is mutual. We have worked together on the multilateral stage on several occasions. We've had so many projects done in Sierra Leone. So it's been a great relationship, 50 years of strong bilateral relationship with the People's Republic of China.
In recognition of a rather comprehensive bilateral relationship with the People's Republic of China and the government of Sierra Leone, a donation by the Chinese government to the country's armed forces include a 3 QY75KC military cranes, 18 front loaders, 22 hobo trucks, 6 military forklifts, 3 military dozers, and 4 bobcat machines, 8 military vehicles, and 3 military water bowsers to the engineering units of the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces. The first time in the history of the Sierra Leone Armed Forces, and under the commandship of Lieutenant General Julius as Chief of Defence Staff and Major General Peter K. Lavahun as Commander Joint Force, that a huge consignment of military equipment were ever donated to the country's armed forces. It could be recalled that the military engineers are essential in combat support role and for building damaged infrastructure. These, according to the commander of the engineering unit of the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces, Colonel J.B. Saidu, that the path the military takes are often influenced by what engineers can facilitate, noting that the army engineers were so viable that during the organization of African unity in Sierra Leone, they did a marvelous job constructing the road from Wilberforce Barracks right onto the end of OAU village. Until now, one of the best constructed roads in the country is a Regent Road that has stood the test of time for more than 30 years. There are plans by the senior management of the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces to engage the Army Engineering Corps to undertake a non-military construction task that will yield much dividend for a sustainable army. The equipment, when fully commissioned by His Excellency President Julius Maada, will see the engineering unit of the RSLAF as one of the outstanding units comparable to the Joint Medical Unit at the 34 Military Hospital in the area of development growth trajectory. Abdul Rahman Kamad reporting.